Last time in session 74, we spent some time refactoring, changing the code in order to uh, allow us to click on this menu button to bring up a menu, click it again to close it, and then show an immersive menu on our left controller when we entered immersive mode. So right here, that is next to our controller. We can, I think, zoom in to it a little bit more to see that there's a menu on that. But it occurs to me that we don't have a way of pressing something on here, like maybe a watch that we can click with our right finger or shoot at with our right finger in order to bring this up in the first place. So the experience isn't quite symmetrical between the inline 2D version where we have this svelte menu over here. We don't even have this, and we would probably want to be able to mute and unmute ourselves in VR as well. And it's also a different experience because this is driven with the svelte menu. It's made of HTML on top of the canvas. So when you click something here and you try to move forward in the scene, I'm clicking the forward cursor, backward cursor. I can't because the canvas doesn't have focus. So I have to click again here in order to do that, which would not be necessary if I used a GUI element because that is part of the canvas. So I think I want to make some modifications to the project here. So let's go to the next and outline what I want to do. So we kind of, okay, let's be able to edit place primitives. We have some, no, we don't have this. We're still working on this because we needed a menu to be able to support that. We're not quite done with the menu. So I'm thinking, one, do we get rid of the svelte menu? It was a good deep dive experimentation into menus, and we got to learn some about components and placing those things. And it's actually pretty good, nice compartmentalization of components. But ultimately, if you're interacting with the server or backend, it's harder because you have to go through an API. Whereas with Phoenix LiveView, it has a very nice story about validating forms and interacting with the database or even GenServer. Bug. Okay. So that's a question mark. And I think I'm leaning toward this direction. Two, the inline menu. We could have an inline menu launcher, start button, inline start button, and microphone mute, unmute. That will make it symmetrical with a VR start button and mic mute, unmute, in that they could probably use the same control and just be on different textures. This would be a full screen UI texture, and this would be a mesh texture. And when you click on them, we'll just change their state. So when click on menu, we'll launch or close the menu. And when you click on mute, unmute, we'll toggle the we'll toggle the mute unmute text / status. Okay, so essentially we want to convert that svelte thing into the 2D texture. Now, what can stay svelte? I think okay, so we're not going to get rid of svelte. We're going to get rid of svelte for the menu overlay. What we're going to keep svelte for is the microphone prompting, all this kind of stuff here. This is actually pretty good for svelte. And to show the welcome stuff about the place. And are we actually showing that? Let me see. So if we go here, my awesome space. This is a castle from Castlevania. What do we see here? This just says welcome. Well, we can show a little bit more. So let's modify that a bit. So we have app. App shows welcome. Looking at this one, we're saying, okay, there's the modal, which is global. And we're saying welcome. So we want to grab some information, and we did this in one of the components. Which one was it? I think it was okay, entity list does it. Alright, so we get context, we get the slug, and then we do operation store. Okay, so we want these two. We'll copy these into the app. No, we'll copy them into welcome. So here we'll import them. And then we'll get the slug context, and we'll get this operation store. Copy that. And up in the JavaScript, we'll say that we're looking for the context, which is the slug. And there's an operation store looking for the space. So we're querying this space by the slug, and all we need back is the name of the space and the description of the space. We don't need the entities. So I think that will work. So save that. And then we'll call the query. And then we'll say when we have this data, we'll say that the name equals data.name. Whoops, here. Let's say let name, let description. And then here we'll say name is data.name, and description is data.description. Value.data. Value.data. Description. And so here we do that. Welcome to, and we'll just do this name. And then here we'll do a paragraph tag. And we'll set the description here. So what do we get here? So welcome to undefined. Why is that? try to make a call. We've got name, description. So what did we get back here? Let's just console log what the value was. Oh, I think I'm missing the space. Value, stale, false, fetching, false, data, yeah, data, space. You know what, we don't need all this. Let's just say that there's a let space. Oh, no. Alright, do it the other way. Okay. Name and description. Okay. Okay, so it fills in, and we can also use the if loaded stuff. Let's see, was there a way of doing that? Let's see. Let's check this stuff. Settings. Yeah, here we go. If space fetching, this sort of stuff. Okay, so that's query the space subscribe. So we could do that. We could use that here. So if the space is fetching, we're saying loading, and if error, we say oh no, space error message, else we do all this and say and the if, in which case these things will have been populated. So you can do space data, yeah, so we can just say space data space dot name and space data space description. And then I don't think we need this. Reload this page. Bam. So yeah, Svelte is great for this stuff. Yeah, it's just more verbose than Phoenix LiveView. Click on that, getting the microphones. We can't even detect the output using certain APIs. Never mind, let's not get distracted. Okay, so we confirmed this. Now we just don't want Svelte for here. So going back to our app, what are we doing? So the first one comes from welcome, and then the join callback is where's our join callback? Join callback is here. We say joined, and then we say did join the space. And if the mic is not confirmed, then we say show mic output. Otherwise we call ready, in which case it will just focus on the canvas and show menu overlay true. So I don't think we need anything about the show menu overlay. Business show menu overlay. So we're not going to do this. Okay, so we get this, close that, and we get nothing here. It's probably fine to have the menu there from the start because they can't click on it, not when that modal is up. When this is up here, you can't interact with this page. So it's fine to have any menus here. Can't. Oh, I can get to that. What? Okay, I stand corrected. And join the space. Yeah, I need them to join the space, otherwise they're not going to connect to the channel and all that kind of stuff. So, in fact, I don't think we should have this here until after we join the space either. I think it might have to do with the z index. This might be higher than the, what is the z index of this thing? Modal, blah, 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 blah. Z index is 2, and what's this thing? Inspect. This thing, have it computed. I can't tell. Um, oh, here, Z index 11. That's why. It's quite high. Well, what if this modal thing was higher? Just curious. Let's go to welcome. Well, what if this Z index was at 12? Yeah, can't get to it. Okay, so it sort of fixes that problem. Okay, yeah, let's draw a menu right away for mute and menu. So we have menu manager. What is the other thing called? Control manager? How about start? It's not the start. I like the menu launcher. Menu launcher. And let's copy all this kind of stuff into the menu launcher. And menu launcher. We got a scene. We have a plane. We have a texture. And we're launched by the scene manager. This scene and does that. And I'm not sure what to listen to yet. constructor will listen for maybe we'll listen to like person joined, camera created, if they enter VR or exit VR. So we need to create a VR overlay menu. So on second thought, maybe we don't need two. Maybe we don't need a second file for this. Don't save this. We just have the menu manager handles all the menu, and we'll have a plane, which is for the VR, the dynamic texture, which could be either mounted to the plane or full screen, and that's determined all through messaging. So, okay. At what point do we create the overlay? Let's say it's created immediately. Okay, we'll need another texture then. So we need another. So we'll have a texture for the browser. Let's say text browse. Texture. And we'll have another one that's the texture for the menu. And maybe we'll have a bit of state, which could be public menu open, and that's a boolean, and let's say this menu open is false, and then maybe another one that's muted, it's a boolean, and we'll say this muted is true at first. And then we need to let's say that there's always a dynamic texture for the 2D mode. That when you drop in, How do we switch between the things? Alright, so the problem that I have is that there's a couple of states here. You can have full screen, you can have inline mode, or you can have immersive. And this one needs two textures. Texture 1, but you can only have one full screen GUI at a time. So it's still one texture. One full screen GUI. Yeah, you click on it, and it places a control. This one I think you would do with we do this with one or two textures. One texture launches a bigger texture. Yeah, I think so. Because the texture sizes are going to be different. So one texture for menu, and then one texture for the browser, or browsing. It feels like we're just changing the state, though. So in terms of state, this would just be like menu open, that's true or false, and then you'd have like muted, true or false, and that would modify some data, and then you'd have some templates that take that data and then render the menu. So if you have menu open, then you could have content be blah blah blah, and then when you click on some actions, then you receive it and then you change the state, so the content will be blah blah blah. And each time you're just going through it and giving us the new state. You take the old state plus the action, give us the new state, and then we need to render that into the output, and the output mode is this one or this one. So we need translators for creating how we're going to move those into the targets. So then this becomes, let me comment this out for a second. Okay, we have some initial state, and then we want to be able to process action. So we're going to listen to menu action, and we'll subscribe to message, and we'll switch on message payload name. And then so when the name is going to be open menu, or why don't we just call a function that matches this? So we'll just say this, and then message payload name, and we'll execute that. So if message payload has a name and this message payload name this, call it, else console error, no such action handler message. So one thing we can listen for is close menu, and you'll just return the new state. So this state equals menu open it becomes false. I think it might be easier if we just say it like this: menu open muted, and how about editing and other content. So if you want to close the menu, we'll just merge in menu opened is false. And if you want to open the menu, this state is this state, and menu opened is true. And if the content is not set, then if the content is not set, then go to main. The main will say let content equal this state content, and then what are the variables you get back on that? You'll say give back the stuff on main here. So return a new main page. The content will contain the menu. So I feel like that's the templates. So template also contains some if-else logic. Okay, so suppose you toggle editing to be true. What should happen with content? I could just say main content. You could just editing false content, and then we need functions that take the state into the control world. So this modifies the state, and then you need to process the state. So we get to process state. So these are state action. These are actions. Close menu, open menu, name. And then we have one that is a process state. So we take so we're going to return two controls. You get the menu control, and then you get the browser control. And we'll divide that into two functions. So you get process menu control, process browser control. And if we just call this menu control and browser, no. Just do this process menu control, browser control. So that gives us the state. We're processing these things, and what do these things do? So they take a look at, okay, so the menu control is going to look at this.state dot okay, there's a type now. And so we're going to create a vertically stacked div, and the name is the menu div. And then the children shall be first it is the I guess menu would be a text block. So this could even be like a hamburger, 3 vertical lines or something. So let's just say it's the menu. And the next line is, well, we want it clickable, so it's got to be an A tag. So it's going to be A menu button. And the target of what to so maybe what we should do is allow event and a payload. So you can send any kind of message you want. And then it has a name in there, so this can be menu. So A takes props of any, and we want an event can we just say message? Okay. The GUI button, guess we don't need a name. Pointer, yes, is the power pointer blocker. And then name here, we need that text, font size, color, text, and then it's going to send a message, signal hub next, and send a message. As a signal event. Cannot find name message. Okay, so this comes from props.message. We know we've got that because this. Okay, so back over here. Just curious, what does button do? Button just makes a button. Okay. And when we're using a tag, we created a text box and a button element. We captured the element and added a thing. Okay, fine. So back over here, we are looking at the payload name. We can call this menu action. Oh, no. The event is menu action, and then here can be action. Yeah, name is fine. Menu action. So somebody's going to click on something. I'm processing this. Okay, so the name is this, and so we have a message, which is a signal event. So we have event, which is menu action, and then we have the payload, which is something with a name, and it can be menu, open menu. So the value of this can be value, and we'll let value equal open menu or close menu. So here's, let me make sure. So we have this open or close menu action, and then we also have this label. So then this can be called maybe label. Let label equal menu. I'm going to put this here. Label. And then the second child will be the mute or unmute. So this will be another button. And this can be mute button, menu action. Payload is so this can be toggle menu, and this can be let mute or unmute, and it can be unmute. And that just returns this control. So if we're creating a new control, put it in there. Of course, we can just process state, and before you stick it in, you can just remove, destroy the whole thing. I think it tears everything down. What about browser control? Here we can just, for now, just say return div no params and just hot dog. Let's see. Do we have signal hub on the window object? Signal hub is here. Constant listen. So let's say window signal hub is signal hub. And so we can pass it menu action and something else. So right now we can just process some action. So close menu and open menu will process some action, and then we'll just output the state. So after this, we'll say console log new state, and it'll be this.state. And before this, we can console log state is this.state. Then we say console.log processing, and you're saying message.payload name. So we get a signal hub, then we can say next, and we can say event is menu action, and the payload is name and open menu. We got beginning open menu, state before was menu open false, processing open menu, and the new state menu open is true. We need a render function which will place this on the page. And we need this to be there I think it's always in full screen mode. We always put it there. So when we jump out of VR, we just have it. Which means then we keep the full screen GUI texture. Public texture full screen GUI. It's a Babylon.js advanced. Now it's GUI. Advanced dynamic texture. go ahead and create this full screen GUI. So this full screen GUI equals GUI advanced texture, create full screen UI, full screen GUI. So after updating the state, we'll call this render. This render and give me process state. And then it'll be content, and the shape will be menu control, which is a kind of GUI container, and browser control, which is kind of GUI container, and then I'll go to this full screen GUI dot root container dot dispose, and then let's add the menu control first. So this full screen GUI add control content menu control. So we're going to render that. So we have the full screen GUI, it doesn't have any control on it. When we send in a message, it's going to process this and then stick that on there. So if we were just to do this again, okay, that happened. Put it on there. We got menu and muted. Okay, I need to take a break.